Okay, this is Dwayne again. I'm here for the second half of this lesson number 23 on give. I hope you've had a good week, and I hope you've been thinking about some of the things I talked about last week about trying to decide in some ways that you can actually give back to your church, give back to society, take some of your experiences instead of watching, 6 hours of Netflix at night. Figure out a way to get out around some, friends and some of the community and do something proactive and productive and to help other people with that extra time. Basically, what I'm saying here is instead of like just watching somebody else live fictitiously in movies and sitcoms and so forth that probably aren't healthy for you anyway, because you're seeing some trash if you're watching Netflix in many cases, but you're actually living your life and you're helping others live their life, okay? And you're not paying Hollywood for some of this fiction. You're actually creating some real life situations out there in the public. And so, anyway, we're on Principle 8 and Step 12. Principle 8 says, yield myself to God to be used to bring this good news to others, both by my example and by my words. Matthew 5:10 says, happy are those who are persecuted because they do what God requires. Doing what God requires sometimes means you set a firm hand on what you're saying. I mean, everybody wants to tell you the good thing. Sometimes it's hard to hear the truth, okay? It's hard to hear the truth for people, and so you might get angry and you don't like talk bad about somebody because they said the truth. And there's so many people, preachers, people, I'm not talking about all preachers, I'm talking about the ones that are preaching a very lukewarm thing, where they never bring up any of the things they need to be bringing up, uh, you know, basically prosperity gospel. Because there's a lot of us, and I've been there, I mean, who wants to hear something that's not going to bring us joy, right? But there's some things that sound like they might kind of agitate us at first, but if we implement them in our lives, they're going to bring joy into our life later, and discipline and so forth to help us in our life. Step 12 says, having had a spiritual experience as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. So basically, we do what we say. And we do what we say because we're not afraid of hell necessarily. That's not why we do it. We do it because we love. We love others. We love ourselves. We have respect for ourselves. We have respect for others, unless they show disrespect for us, and then we try to still show them more respect than they showed us even. So we try to do that. Galatians 6:1 says, brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently, but watch yourselves, or you also may be tempted. Now let me ask you this, going back to that. If you see someone's life who is completely upside down because of something they're doing, everybody sees it. And you go see them and you say, hey, how you doing? They say, well, I'm doing okay, because they're lying to you, right? They're lying. And you say, well, keep doing what you're doing. And you smile at them and they smile back, and you think you've done something. If you love that person, you're going to figure out a way to try to help them out of that situation. In other words, you see someone who pawned their title, and they've got a drug problem, and they pawn their title to go party or whatever, and then next thing you know, they didn't have the money to pay their loan, so then they lose their car, and then they're begging people to take them to work, and they find some people to take them to work, and then sometimes those people fall through, so they're having to bounce from person to person, to spend a lot of their time doing this, and then next thing you know, they show up to late 2 or 3 times because they're having to depend on somebody else, and they don't have their car anymore because they pawned the title and the car got repoed, and so you get in a situation. Do you keep enabling that, or just for peace, or do you have a talk with them and see if there's a way you can help them out of that situation? And ultimately, denial, if they don't admit they're doing wrong, I'm not saying give them money all the time, because that's enabling their habits. There has to be a line. If you're going to help someone, there has to be a line. You can't enable, continue. They call that enabling someone. The enablement's got to cut off. Okay, you got to have a real talk with them and do your best. And as the verse says, it says, restore that person gently, gently. And look, all of us can be a little harsh or rough around the edges. Maybe more than rough around the edges. Gentleness is a gift from God, and it takes work for some people who have a more coarse and what's the word I'm looking for? More coarse, more straightforward, mouth. I'm so impulsive. Some people have to work on that gentleness thing. But that's what this verse says. So anyway, we're going to do a little acrostic for give tonight. That's G-I-V-E, okay? Give. The G stands for God first. The I stands for I becomes we. The V stands for victory is shared. And the E stands for example of your actions. Now, as far as going back to the G in give stands for God first. The Romans 8:32 says, God did not even keep back his own son, but offered him for us all. He gave us his son. Will he not also freely give us all things? Let's just say he bent over backwards for us. And we have to appreciate that. We have to appreciate, what God has done for us. And it's a big thing. He basically came down to earth himself to show us an example, and he loves us. He loves us. And there's all kinds of analogies all throughout the New Testament that have some very serious and very deep meanings to them. And about putting us on the line. He didn't sugarcoat it. He did it in a gentle way. And so he did it in a Christ-like way by coming here and, trying to set an example and giving us all of these parables and things to read and teaching us how to pray, so to speak, and all. So he did all these things. So anyway, the second letter is I. When we give, the I becomes we. And there's so many times, I is all about the self and the ego and so forth. But then when you suddenly get involved and start helping in church and start helping in your community, it becomes a we, and you feel like a group. And there's strength in numbers. Iron sharpens iron. There's strength in numbers. And you may not get along exactly with everybody, but what you can do is learn from your mistakes, because none of us are perfect, right? And especially when you're first getting to know someone, you may misinterpret something they say, or misinterpret a look they give you, or you're still learning each other. And then let's be honest. Everybody has their own issues, okay? And so you'll learn people's issues if you are around them long enough. And so that doesn't mean, they're necessarily bad people or whatever, and people are also going to have disagreements. Not everybody thinks alike. Everybody's got a totally, entirely separate set of experiences that they've been through in their life. And so it's important to recognize that. They may have had this happen to them and you had that to them, but they've had 1,000 other things happen to them that you haven't had happen to them. So you have different strengths and you have different weaknesses, and you get different perspectives. But all the perspectives leads to God. That's the one thing that we need to experience. All of us. Jesus says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all of your mind." That's the first and the greatest commandment. And the second one is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's Matthew 22:37 through 39. Now that's the second letter. That goes with the second letter again. Like we say, the I becomes we, okay? So this is bigger than just ourselves. We don't just stay inside of our house, and we don't keep our talents and our experiences in a suitcase. So the more experiences you had and all the bad things that's happened to you, you can use those things to help other people, so to speak. Because, you may run into somebody that's never had anybody have a serious talk with them before about certain things. and you have experience with those certain things. You know, and so you can talk with them about that. You can talk with them, and you can try to help them about that. I can think of a lot of different occasions that I'm not going to bring up here where I've had certain conversations with people, you know. But anyway, Ecclesiastes 4 9 through 12 says this. It says, "Two are better than one because together they can work more effectively. If one of them falls down, the other one can build him up. But if someone is alone and there is no one to help him, two people can resist an attack that would defeat the person alone." If you've ever been truly alone, you know what it's like. You know what it's like to take arrows by yourself, okay? So it's always better to have a network of people that care about you and love you, and you love them back to help you when you go through hard times, okay? And so you got one friend, and that friend does something that was really bad to you. You don't have another friend, you know. It's better to have a network of friends, and you don't. And get the right kind of friends, people that's going to, not enable you, but people that are going to be straightforward and tell you the truth. Those are the best kinds of friends to have. People that are going to be straightforward, tell you the truth. Now, they may not always be right. I say tell you the truth. It's their version of the truth, right? But still, someone, you get to know someone. I've always said I'd rather someone be a little bit aggressive and tell me what's on their mind and have someone go behind my back and talk behind my back about me. I mean, that's just the way I am, and that's how I deal with people, and that's how I think the world would be a better place if that's the case. As long as they were gentle. It's okay. Go back to that verse when I said, gentle. Do it gentle, because you can be too harsh, you can make the situation worse. The V in give stands for victory shared, okay? And so 2 Corinthians 1, 3 through 4 says, "Give thanks to God the Father, our Lord Jesus Christ, the merciful Father, the God from whom all help comes. He helps us in all of our troubles so that we are able to help others who have all kinds of troubles, using the same help that we ourselves have received from God." Now, being able to talk to someone or having someone to talk to, even if that someone is just God, it's a healing process, okay? Yes, you have to find someone you can trust, okay? You don't want someone that's immature or someone that's a control freak that's going to use what you tell them to elevate them to power. I mean, because those people exist out there, and God says that I'm supposed to love them, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But you just you got to kind of watch out for that kind of stuff, and go back to sponsor and accountability partner where we talked about that in great detail, okay, about finding someone that you can trust that's going to help you and not hurt you and hinder your development and your growth, so to speak. Romans 8:28 says, "We know that all things happen to us is working for good if we love God and are fitting into His plans." I mean, basically, I've always heard it said, the version I've heard was, all things work for good for those who love the Lord. And so bad things happen, but they give us experience and they give us insight. And, as far as helping others, we can take those things and we can help others with the things that we have experienced, so to speak. And so that's an important verse. To be honest with you, that's one of my favorites. And I it varies what my favorite is, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it too. It brings a lot of peace to you too when you think about that. All things work for good for those who love the Lord. And for those who love the Lord, He can take those things and turn them around and empower you with Him instead of the destruction you thought that happened to you at the time. All that can be erased, and it may take a little time, yes, but it can be healed. You can be healed. You can be healed, and the Lord can heal you. And so The next thing, the E in give, is example. Okay, example of your actions. The E stands for example of your actions. Actions speak louder than words, and you want to be a positive example. I kind of tell myself all the time, and I talk to God about this. I said, I would rather have a net positive effect as far as on people to counter the negative things that I've done in my life. And so, you're going to mess up. Everybody's a sinner, okay? And everybody has messed up, and everybody has harmed someone in some way, and everybody has been harmed in some way. So it's a two-way street, absolutely, But part of the healing process and the process of getting to know God and getting into understanding God's love and feeling that in your heart, so that you can radiate that out, in society and help others, is an important thing. Okay, James 1:22 says, "Doers of the word bring the good news to others." If you're happy about something, if something has really changed your life and has helped you, then it is something worth sharing to other people. John 3:18 says, "My children, love must not be a matter of words or just talk. It must be genuine and show itself in action." We as Christians don't do things just because we're afraid of some hell. Okay? A lot of us has had a certain amount of hell on earth, so to speak. Anyway, we do things because we love. We do things because we love. That's why we do it. So motives are especially important. Now, and why hide? Why hide your talents? Why hide that in a suitcase under your bed, so to speak? Luke 8:16 says, "No one lights a lamp and then covers it with a wash tub and shoves it under their bed. No, you set it up on a lampstand so those who enter the room can see the way." Do you love God? Tell people you love God. Has God changed your life? Tell people God's changed your life. That's all I'm saying. And, give is the name of the lesson again tonight. And if God's given something to you, give something to other people, and then you're going to be encouraged, because when you make an impact in someone else's life and you see their life change in a positive direction, it makes you feel good inside. I mean, it really does, and it's really, really, really helpful to make you feel like you have purpose. I feel like I have purpose. Yeah, I feel like I have purpose. I've seen a lot of changes in people. I have, and seen a lot of changes in myself, and I've had some powerful influencers in my life, and I thank God for those influences, because I have had some negative influences in my life, and so to have some positive influences to counter some of the negatives is so important. And who doesn't want to be a positive influence? I mean, at least as much as you can anyway. And so, thank God, have gratitude, and give. And I think I hope you have a good Thanksgiving. I think probably we'll have one more lesson before Thanksgiving. Maybe not. Actually, the next lesson I think will be Thanksgiving Day. So, but be thinking about being thankful for the little blessings in your life, and count those things, count those blessings, every single one of them. Be thankful for the ones that love you in your life, and sometimes they don't feel like they love you, but sometimes when you look deeper, you realize they do love you, and you just and so. Keep looking, and if you don't have anybody, you always have God. But be thankful for the people that God, and pray for the people that God's going to bring into your life, because you're praying for God to bring someone to love you in your life. And so, all that's so very important. And there's a lot of relationships that have been torn down. Maybe there's some in your life. Maybe you think they're never going to be rebuilt, but you can build bridges back if you try. And it may take some time, and they may reject you for a while, but you keep working on it, okay? And you know, maybe they're just hurting too, and they don't want to let anybody close to them, and you know, because they've been hurt because they let people close to them in the past, and those people hurt them. So you never know what someone's going through in life. And so, anyway, with that, I wish you well, and I hope you have a good week. I hope you have a good month. And I hope you have a good rest of the year and rest of your life. And God bless you, and I'll catch you next time.